Welcome to another episode of the Top Corner Podcast, and today is 11/11/2024. Round of applause for everyone that's been watching. And this is just for us too.
I thought you were giving a round of applause for the date.
Nah. And today,
November 11th, nothing quite like it. Very impressive, I will say.
Today's co-host is Julian. Julian, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Tired, but this winter edition Red Bull is really getting shit done. I don't know if you've seen the iced vanilla berry.
No.
It tastes like a blue sweet tart.
Dang.
I don't know if you like sweet tarts or not, but this is like
sweet.
This has been my favorite for a couple of days now.
Yeah?
I'm really digging that.
No,
one.
I think Red Bull has figured out the formula for for flavors. Like,
yeah,
and I like the watermelon. No pun intended.
I personally can't stand watermelon, but if somebody likes watermelon, I imagine the flavor is good because they've every flavor that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
Are based on fruits that I actually like. So
yeah, I like the watermelon. I like the what's that? I think they have a tangerine one.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I like it, man. I go crazy. The only thing is that actually they started making the zero sugar for flavors too.
Yeah,
because I used to not drink a lot of that.
That's what this is. Yeah, this is like 10 calories, zero sugar. So
yeah,
good stuff.
That's my thing. All right, let's start with some news here. Ruben Amorim, he just got to Manchester United today.
Yep, fresh off the plane.
Yes. And guess what? Unfortunately, Ruud van Nistelrooy is not going to be retained.
Yeah.
And which is sad because I thought, I understand that every coach wants to come with their own staff,
Yeah.
They're trying to implement their own philosophy, ideas, and whatnot. But, it would have been nice a little bit to kind of get I don't know.
Well, and
probably me just talking.
There were some people that were wanting to cancel the deal. They were like, Ruben, I'm sure it's going to be nice. It's going to be great. But Ruud is kind of crushing it right now. We'll see what goes on.
Yeah.
But once you hire an interim coach, it's very rare that they extend out to a permanent deal. Like once you're locked in, you're kind of expected to be gone pretty quickly.
The one thing I don't know. I've always wondered is like, if an interim coach comes in, I'm not talking just for 4 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and he in the event that the team, whatever team is it, football, soccer, basketball, hockey, whatever, and he goes for an extended period of time and he crushes it, I always wondered why they don't end up giving him the job. I mean, I understand you guys want to say, probably he don't have the resume, but you learn on the job too. Not assuming that's not every job, of course, but if I'm already crushing it and I take you, I remember Di Matteo, Chelsea season 2012-13, when they won it, actually, Di Matteo was the guy who took them halfway season and won it, but they never retained him. So it's kind of crazy. Who is this guy? Who is Ruben Amorim? Man, this guy crushed it at Braga, and from Braga, Sporting kind of got him, and he went to Sporting. He won the first Taça de la Liga in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
And after that, and that was the first win or championship win for Sporting in 19 years.
Yeah.
And after the increase his salary, I think he was like the third paid coach in Portugal. And he won again 2023-2024. Another La Liga, well, when I say Taça de la Liga or Taça da Liga, that's how they call it, he won that, and they were like, man, this guy's pretty good,
Pretty good. He's all right.
This year, he's been crushing it, apparently. Yeah. And the one thing I liked about him, he said he wanted to play the last game with Sporting against City so he can kind of gauge, and guess what? I guess the gauging was pretty high.
Bold, yeah, very bold. Because you want to come into your new club, feeling good, and even if you concede a loss against a team like City, just to prove that point, it doesn't mean that you're walking in feeling bad.
Yeah.
Or that United should even doubt, like, if this Sporting side loses to City, you shouldn't think that much less of the coach that's coming in for you. Yeah. But the fact that he sneaks one over on Pep, you're like, oh wow, it's like coming in with even more momentum, more positive feelings,
and it gives that
to the players who need it desperately. My God, do they need it badly?
Yeah, it gives that confidence.
If there's a top side in Europe, and by top side I mean historically and with clubs, revenue generation and popularity, they probably need that Pep step. More than anybody right now, and they got it from Ruben. I mean, pretty wild.
Yeah, if you are Ruben Amorim, what's the first thing you do? What's your first order? What's the in terms of the team, not the management side, because as much as you can talk about the management side, you really don't know the guys in the management apart from what you really see. But on the team itself, what would you do as your first order?
You got to figure out how to get more energy and more confidence out of Rashford if he's going to keep starting, which it seems like for some reason they keep wanting to, like, for me, he become more rotation.
Of United.
And I would honestly, I mean, like you said, don't get into the management kind of stuff. The first thing that I would want to do would be sell Anthony. But as a
same thing, no, that's good.
But as a manager, probably get him out of the starting lineup in general.
Yeah.
That way, at least, you're not talking to the guys upstairs about deals, about contracts, but get him off the conversation in terms of play.
Yeah.
And they have no choice but to sell him at that point, because they keep having these guys coming in enough to where it feels like they're justified in rotation, and they're not wanting to sell them. But there are certain guys you just have to push aside. I mean, you're never going to get the same amount of money that you paid for Anthony. That was kind of the point, the $100 million deal. Yeah. Hardly any of these guys, and with the except that now in the future, if you buy someone for $100 million, they're barring them turning into a Messi. You know what I mean? Or Ronaldo. Like, you're not going to get your money back in full for $100 million sale. Definitely. So accept the loss. They should have accepted it 2 years ago, but they didn't. That's fine, whatever. But yeah, that'll be the first thing.
And do you think
get him out of the conversation to be
asking
in the squad
a little bit money on the upper on the guys above to kind of get your own players? Do you think it's a feasible or possible? Because you think about it, Ten Hag actually spent close to 600 million or 500, and he didn't do nothing in 2.5 years or 3 years. And you figure out these guys down, they probably don't want to spend that much again, since they have a lot of plans renewing the stadium, getting back the old glory United, even if it's not in terms of playing the game right or being one of the big clubs in the game. But you are still a big club, so from big clubs we expect, if I want to watch the game at the stadium, I expect to see a facility, of United.
I saw one thing about Emerim as well, where he basically said he was not overly interested in bringing in guys from Sporting to United, and that's another positive step, because we're so used at this point to basically Ajax 2.0. Not working well at United. The last thing that you would want your manager to do if you just let go Ten Hag is, hey, I've got like 5 guys in my old starting 11 that I want to bring over. How do you feel about $400 million for these guys? And it's like, oh my God, this is happening all over again. But he's expressly stated that he was not, at least in the next transfer window, and I imagine that he's extending that out to summer as well.
Yes.
That he's not really interested in bringing that over and recreating that sort of drama.
At the end of the day, I don't see Ineos, the group, actually purchasing a lot of expensive players now. If they have to, it's probably up-and-coming guys or rising stars. But now football is kind of crazy. When I say football, I think it's in sports in general. If you saw the contract of these NBA players this summer, just the extension, you'll be like, I don't even know his name. And same thing in soccer. Even the rising stars now, the contract and the payout is so huge now. I think you probably get the youngsters. If I'm him, I get all the youngsters that are United, the Kobe, the Mano, whatever. And I try to Xerxes, I try to get more out of them and building that confidence and that team, because they're young. Then you might set yourself up for like 2 or 3 years, 4 years worth of run. But I
had seen that Ten Hag was actually not very pleased with Joshua Xerxes, and that he was considering letting him go this January that quickly. Apparently he showed up to training out of shape, a little overweight, which is surprising to him. And I mean, he hasn't played that well. I do think that letting him go in January after just signing him this summer is premature. But there was that conversation being had, and he deserves more time. But that's not to say that they need a forward player in January. There's absolutely someone that needs to come into the rotation, because assuming that Rashford stays in that positive mindset, Højlund's still not getting exactly what's supposed to get done. Neither is Xerxes, and then we just discussed Anthony. So it's maybe you're not looking for someone to replace Xerxes, but I think that in January getting another forward that's aggressive
will make a difference.
I think it would for them.
I just feel like try to get more out of the guys first before you have an argument to get a play. Because I feel like Garnacho just have to work on confidence, because he can score, but he misses a lot. Right foot, he just got to work on. Even Xerxes being out of shape, you just got to get him to a point where he's happy, he feels comfortable, and he can play. It's all about confidence. That's what I think, especially coming in. Just don't try to, fire up with all these transfers and it never worked and they're all looking at you. And because I think this new group will not be patient. The one who is now. I'm talking about management. Let's talk about a quick recap of the Champions League. And if you watch the Champions League, man, that thing is fantastic.
It's a strange format.
I think the format is kind of working as how the fans and everyone kind of want it, in the sense of fairness.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I still say the big clubs making it, but it also gives us a sensation that, I mean, if you go and look at the format itself, Brest is 4, and Brest is in Division 1 in France.
Yeah.
PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, is not even top 10.
Yep.
You're talking about,
they're not even in that playoff scenario.
Yeah.
That they would be able to compete with.
Monaco
they're sitting
25th.
Yeah.
Sporting, I know these clubs have harder games coming along, which I don't see them potentially winning the game. But guess what? There's an argument that is a club of this level can sneak in the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and that's what the fans kind of want. You want a sensation that it's not just the money that makes you the guy, but also in terms of the sport itself, I can make it if we play well.
And one thing for Arsenal supporters out there, looking at the schedule that they had, the big ones were, oh no, don't want to face PSG, don't want to face Inter Milan, but you started looking at the other ones and you were like, you know what, this feels like it could be okay in terms of schedule. But now you're looking at Monaco and Sporting. Hot off the heels of this Inter Milan loss. Didn't expect those two clubs in general to be inside the top 10, let alone the top 5. Then they are the Arsenal opponents coming up soon. Who Arsenal with a 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, not bad, especially for a club that is historically not the best in European competition. And again, we still don't really know what good versus bad performance halfway through this league's phase is. You know what I mean? Like how bad really is 7 points out of the 4 games.
That's true.
In this format, we don't really know.
Also, how bad can you be, as you take an example of Brest, and you have 10 points because Brest been playing medium opponent now. When I think the rest of the games are mostly tough. How about would they drop points?
And then where is the point of no return? Because
that's another thing.
In the group stages, you would know 1 home, 1 away. You're playing 6 games. You kind of understand. Getting top slot in that group stage to get a better draw is impossible. Second is possible but not probable. So we need to shoot for third to then get relegated down to the other European competition. We don't really know if a squad like Girona or even Leipzig, 0 points out of the 4 games, like can they sneak in to that 24th, 23rd slot if Atletico, PSV, PSG continue shitting the bed. Like we don't really know where do you have to place halfway through this league phase where it's mathematically impossible or highly improbable that you even sneak in.
I would say the fans have been pretty happy to see that they see at least they feel like it's kind of fair where they see teams like Lille, Celtic that haven't been performing in a while in Europe. Teams like Brest, oh my gosh, fourth. Teams like Monaco, Sporting second. I know this way you call it. Milan whooped my guys.
That was wild. And even
Sporting City, just like anybody could get it.
Well, and even Atalanta, who was playing deceptively well in their domestic league, and sneaking in. I mean, they're just outside of that guaranteeing to move top on 8. Placement. So I mean, it is very interesting seeing a lot of these squads of high expectation performing low, and we don't really know how far can AC Milan, can Bayern Munich, can Real Madrid climb up this odd group stage table that we're not used to seeing.
This
league phase table rather.
I definitely agree. Well, Premier League, it's also kind of the same scenario. Not talking about the format, but the sense of fairness in it's. If you watch the Premier League right now, it's so competitive. When I say competitive, in a sense, this year, which make it kind of enjoyable, is because although Manchester City is not at the point where we know Manchester City to be, or even Arsenal for the past 2 or 3 years, but it makes it in this weird bracket where when we looked at the table, we say, wow, So this is what it is now. When you look at the table, Liverpool is first with 28 points. City is second with 23 points. Chelsea has 19 points and it's third.
Talk about Arsenal, a quick turnaround. Very quick turnaround for them.
I know. Arsenal 19 points. Guess what? Nottingham Forest. I mean, before this last week, Nottingham Forest was, I think, third or fourth. I was like, wait a minute. When I was like, is that Nottingham Forest? That's crazy. And I feel like I kind of liked it. Liverpool haven't lost a game, but I think they have drawn.
They've lost one game and they've drawn one game.
Yeah, one game.
But even then, like with them at the top of the league with a lot of points to spare, even they don't feel like the same exact. Like they're still not as good as they were under Klopp at that high phase. Yeah. So like, even though they are getting these results, like no one team feels unstoppable in Europe as a whole. Not even just in England, but like. That's what makes the Champions League more exciting this year as well, as this new competition format and the fact that there's not a single squad within that league phase or within their domestic leagues that really look unstoppable. Napoli and Atalanta are shooting it out in the Italian league. Munich looks pretty vulnerable at times. And Liverpool can lose even though they are operating the most fluidly out of any squad in Europe that I've seen.
Guess what? It's crazy to think that the fourth, which is Arsenal, and the 13th, which is United, just have 4-point difference.
Yep.
That's the craziest thing ever.
Yep.
It means in the snap of one game, one draw, I can get back.
Yep.
So that's also what makes it so exciting. Makes it exciting. But the thing that I don't know, man. I know the Arsenal people. This felt like this could have been your season. The way City is playing, but Arsenal also is not performing high, which is crazy because the one season where City is not, I know a lot of people think that when City, when they start playing at home or whatever, they're gonna start winning a lot of games. But when you look at Liverpool, I think they have transitioned so well, but I also think the players are playing it's like they're playing for the coach. They have that club feeling, right? He doesn't want to be club, but the players, because club didn't leave the team in a bad shape in a sense, because most coach either you get fired or you leave things in shambles, but he didn't. In a sense, he just didn't leave like a lot of young players, but he left a legacy.
He was in the middle of a rebuild, but it never felt like there was a particular worrisome spot. He left them at a good area where the new guys were not super fresh. They understood the system. The older guys still had a couple more seasons in them, so they're not desperate to have to get rid of people. He really turned the club over at a responsible point. And I think I've said it a couple of weeks. It looks like Slot really has figured out how to maintain the identity of the club under Klopp. While also putting his own spin on it. They don't play the same way.
That's true.
But that same energy, what that representation of what it means to be Liverpool has maintained. As opposed to, I think I've used the example of Alabama Crimson Tide. When Nick Saban left and Kalen DeBoer came in, he wanted to completely uproot the identity. They're not as serious during practice. He's not as big of a hard ass. They have like ice cream and bullshit, and you're like, this one. That's kind of pussy stuff. Like don't they still need to work hard, and they need to feel under fire when they're fucking up. Like that's being a responsible manager. But it looks like he's wanted to maintain that sort of strict, disciplined identity that Klopp had, while still being himself in the process, not trying to replicate Klopp, but not trying to completely upend everything that the club represents. Just very fluid transition all the way around.
That definitely, I do agree with all of that, and I feel like the players are playing for the coach. They have it in them. When you see them playing week in, week out, man, I think right now especially Mo Salah and Diaz, they playing so good together. And what about Man City recent form? What about them? What about them?
4 straight. It's his first. It's his first 4 straight defeats, Pep Guardiola, since he was at Barcelona B, I believe.
And also it's the first time City had that streak since 2006, which is crazy because when you look at the team, they have the players, but they say the machine is not there. Rodri, the locomotive is not there. The person that drives the bus is not there. But how impactful is Rodri? And if you didn't know, Rodri when City playing with Rodri last year won 75% of their games, and without Rodri, they are down 58%.
Yeah.
That's how impactful he is. But do we attribute all that to Rodri? Because guess what? Liverpool also have key players that are injured, and they're still making it work. Is that the whole argument? Now I understand that if you don't have the guy, especially in the system that Pep Guardiola plays, it makes it difficult for City. But how do you look at that situation?
First of all, I don't feel sorry for a side that also has Kevin De Bruyne in it. Even though he's come on late in the matchups during this string of defeats.
Yes.
He didn't play at all during the Bournemouth loss, which most people, when you look at those 4 losses, that was really the one that showed that they weren't playing well.
Yeah.
The Sporting played well.
Yeah.
Brighton played well. And Bournemouth played well also, but that was the one that Man City really felt out of control, or out of the possibility of becoming more forward-minded, more creative, and getting a result. But I mean, Rodri's out. When did it become impossible for them to get results with someone like Kevin De Bruyne in the squad? Like that's what I'm. Is he not fully fit? I don't know. But yeah, I still have a tough time seeing the squad and just pulling Rodri out and then being completely helpless, because they have the deepest bench probably in Europe overall. Are they missing some creativity that they used to have? Yes. Do they still have the deepest roster? Yes. So even though your locomotive player in the midfield is out, you guys have to be able to figure something out in these results, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm not saying it's a 50-50. I'm not saying that without Rodri, they are close to playing how they play with Rodri.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying that we can attribute the whole thing to not having a player when you know well. And
their whole form is down. It's not just the fact that he's missing. Because you should be able to go, well, where's De Bruyne?
Yeah.
Gundogan, you brought him back for a reason. And even though you usually don't backstep like that, you usually don't sell somebody and then bring them right back. But you did, and that's fine because he's still a good player. Foden's out of form. Haaland's out of form. It seems like he can't really create much unless he's just doing simple tap-ins. Everybody's out of form at the moment. So it's not just you take one player out and the whole thing falls apart.
I think he knows it too, because he said, when I was reading this week, he said something about the international break will be good. Probably they need a break from each of them a lot, and stuff like that. And I know Pep is usually really good at rotating players and giving breaks to players, so that's probably what they need for City to come back. But it also makes it I think the Premier League also this year might be also exciting. We don't know if hopefully Liverpool and Arsenal and the top competitors don't start dropping point left and right when City gets back in form, if they do get back in form, or if this is going to be how this year's Premier League is going to go on. So everybody, Liverpool is in top form right now. They're the only people that seem really consistent.
They don't look like maniacs like they did in 2019 under Klopp, but they are by far the most consistent in Europe, not just in the Premier League for sure. And really fast, just comparing the Arsenal to City thing, it's interesting seeing what happens when you're missing a key player, because like I said, Rodri being out with that depth of a squad, it shouldn't affect them as much, but they're all out of form consistently, and that's what it all adds up to. Whereas with Arsenal, with Odegaard being out, you could see the other players were motivated to continue on, but they just don't have those elements to them.
Yeah.
Asking Declan Rice, it's not that he's been playing poorly, but you're asking him to step up the creativity and the forward-mindedness, and that's not what he does.
That's true.
So in a way, he's playing poorly because you're asking Rodri to play like Kevin De Bruyne, essentially. And it's like, no, I play like Rodri. That's what I do. So it's interesting because really the only out-of-form players at Arsenal have been Trossard and Martinelli on the wide left. But everybody else has been playing fine. And it's just that they're being asked to cover. Everyone has a different role in that one creative player is out, whereas Man City's full of creative players, but they're all out of form, and that's highlighted even more so by Rodri being out.
Let's not even talk about Arsenal versus Chelsea before, then we'll go with Liverpool after, since we're talking about Arsenal. I mean, you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, or Arsenal now, and I said it, I don't know, and that's probably why Edu is gone, their manager or director. Is it the technical director or the management, the one that's in charge of
sporting
recruiting,
director?
Sporting director, yeah. I think that's probably why he left. I don't know if he got fired or whatever. I haven't heard much about that.
He was invited to leave.
He was invited to leave. That's a good way of saying you go out, you get fired. But think about it. We've been saying this for a long time. Arsenal needs a striker that when things are hard, when there's no creativity, when someone shoots from out of the box and it bounces back, somebody to even tap it in, there's no one. There's not what you call in French. In French, they say renard de surface. They'll call it's called a fox in the surface. Someone that smells it every single time. You don't have that person, and I think that's in the front. That's the problem because they don't have much more options than what they have. If Saka doesn't drive on the right and try to cut back in, or drives or runs on the right and try to cross it, and if Martinelli doesn't do that, and by the way, I think they need another player on the left that's more creative.
That's what I said.
To balance Saka, because Martinelli is not that creative. And you think about this game, Cucurella understands, and Saka, I always say he has the most basic understanding of what a winger is, and I like the way he plays. But the thing about not being too technical, is also that when you have someone that understands the stop and go of a winger like Cucurella did, it makes it difficult for Saka, because anytime he stops, Cucurella understands he's gonna stop and try to speed again. So guess what? I'm gonna catch him. I'm make him turn to his backside. I will do this, do that. And then what is the left side doing? The left side cannot really create because everything mostly comes from the right side. Which
But I do think that we saw how important Martin Odegaard was, because they were more creative, they were more fluid, they did passes, create, they manifested more chances. They were looking closer to in form than they have since his injury during one of those international breaks. That said, yes, the forward situation is a bit worrisome. I will say, like, you want that sort of like Fox kind of player. Havertz showed that during that set piece that led to the offside goal. He didn't need to be that offside. That was unfortunate. But as an objective, neutral person, seeing those kinds of crafty set pieces and that player being, open for those odd, because Chelsea just kind of switched off. And I don't know if you saw Ben White, but Ben White was in front of Havertz, and he was the one that actually gave the go-ahead. When he crossed over Havertz, he saw that he was wide open, and he was like back there, like right, and it slid right past him over to Havertz. And it's like, that was unfortunate. He had one or two others that sort of ricocheted off of him. Well, actually, in that 95th minute, Trossard gets a little touch on it, and that's what keeps it out of reach for Havertz. So Havertz could have possibly finished that, but Trossard's been chronically out of form this whole season.
That's true.
Martinelli has still shown a lot of energy, but not that creative spark in that final third.
That's what I want to say.
But if you need somebody to just absolutely take the ball and hoof it down the entire length of the pitch and hold up and wait for the rest of the team to catch up and build something from that, he can still do that. But asking for him to create those chances himself, it's not really happening.
It's difficult.
They definitely need someone else in that creative.
And to be honest, I think they should go for Gyökeres. The guy is Sporting, and I will tell you why. Because he's cheaper now and he's really good. Because you let that guy go someone years in 1 year, he becomes expensive. And I thought they would have gone for Nicola, the guy at Newcastle. But I also heard the bump up he's expensive now. So they should definitely find someone.
And they're still trying to prioritize midfield. I saw that they were wanting this 20-year-old Nico Paz. And it's like,
I think he's from Madrid.
No, he's from one, maybe Sociedad.
Oh,
he's from one of the mid-table La Liga sides.
I think he might be coming from Madrid.
But it's not even that. It's the like, I'm not looking at that saying that's a bad choice. But it's like, guy, like,
get the guy first.
You gotta get a forward here, man. Like, I understand. I think that Partey did well in the midfield. I think that he still has that good long stride. He's able to dispossess people with the ball with his long ass fucking legs. It's wild to watch him sometimes. I saw he did like a 360 pivot with a stomp, and I was like, yes, that was awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to see. But midfield is not exactly your issues, man. You've got to have someone that can close it down.
Let's get more options at the front before we can work our way down. Because you can always do with the midfield and the defense, and you've been doing that for years. But the thing you need goals. You gotta win the game. You gotta have more option. And when I say they also need another left side, because guess what? This game, Chelsea Arsenal, and most games, but this game had 46% of the chances of attacking came from the right side.
Yeah.
And 24 to 30% both distributed between middle and left side. That's because everything goes through the Saka.
Well, and through Odegaard as well. They've got that good representation. Yeah.
So guess what? You need someone on the other side that can balance those numbers and just create more chances. That's probably why Liverpool is doing so great now. Because when you look at Liverpool, especially when they run the attack, man, from both sides you have a lot of options, you know. And talking about Liverpool, is it a good time to start, you know? This is all entertainment, but I think we should start talking about Mo Salah, in the sense that top 5 strikers now in Europe at this point of time.
Yeah.
Or even forward, let's say forward.
Yeah.
Because I don't hear people mentioning enough, but this guy's been performing very well, especially this season. I think he's 10 goals in.
No, so
8 goals in.
He has 8 goals in the Premier League and 6 assists in the Premier League, with 4 assists in the Champions League. 15 games total. So 10 assists in 15 games and 8 goals in 15 games. It's pretty unbelievable. Yeah. I think that it's also because he's not playing to the same standard that he did in 2019.
Yeah.
However, I think that it's the way that Liverpool play. Because there's such a team-based operation that it's all so well distributed between everyone that it's easier to look at the crazy goals of Lewandowski.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to look at the single players.
It doesn't really put the shine the light on just one person in a sense.
They are a lot like they were under Klopp as well. It's a machine.
It's a machine.
Everybody's doing just enough to where the identity of the individual slowly kind of dwindles away to where we're not talking about how amazing that they are to watch. We're talking about how consistent they are.
Yeah.
And you do that by everybody doing their job well.
That's true.
And it not being about the self, but about the collective. And there you go.
Definitely. Well, I think Salah right now, he's in the top 10 of the all strikers goal scorers in the Premier League. The good thing, or the weird thing about it, he is not a striker per se. So he's the only person in the top 10 with Lampard that are not striker-based position in a sense. All the rest were strikers. Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry, you know, all these guys were mostly strikers. And he's gonna, I think he's 10 games to get to pass Thierry Henry's record. Let's go to La Liga, man. Yeah, there was a lot of polemic with Barcelona VAR allowed goal, and I just wanted to show you the picture, but I think that link, if you click, you can see the picture, but that's about it for Barcelona. They lost 1-0 against Sociedad, but
and they had some good chances too.
Yeah, Lewandowski goal was disallowed. They had some good chances, but guess what? It was the first time that Barcelona, since 2010, that Barcelona did not have a shot on target. I'm not saying the shot around on target, they didn't.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were talking about the VR, the disallowed goal, that it was not supposed to be disallowed, and they also had kind of VR issues this weekend as in England. So
I was gonna say, at least someone else other than England is having some sort of VAR debacle. For God's sake,
people are saying that the two legs merged, both the defender and Lewandowski, so there's not really. It's just like a little tiny bit, but people seem to not be able to justify if it was Lewandowski or the defender, even though the computer traced it. So that's crazy that in this era of technology, we still cannot agree when technology points it out. But it might be also what they say might be right. So I don't know.
There are some hilarious ones in college football as well, where like you see them zooming in, like they've got these HD cameras all over the stadium, and yet there's like the one place that the player is on the sideline they don't have a clear view of. They've got to crop in 10 times on this fuzzy ass lens, and you're like, guys, this feels like 2008. What are you doing? Like, you gotta fix. So like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, the more the technology advances, the more that it kind of becomes a little bit more primitive at the same time.
We're talking about injuries. Madrid has also been hit with injuries, and this is around the globe, especially people or teams that play multiple leagues, multiple tournament. So because, you know, at the end you have to go in your counter again, perform, because you also are playing. It's kind of like even at the country level, you're still playing leagues when it's not even the year of a league. Yeah. And which is what people have been complaining. But some rumors were like, should we bring back Ramos at least for a little bit? Because guess what? Militao is injured again, and that's I think he has torn ACL or whatever.
Opposite knee this time. That's awful. Would you rather have
1 year?
Because you've had knee injuries. I've actually been fortunate enough for the collective 20 years of sports that I played, I never had a knee injury. Would you rather for an ACL the same knee twice or one each? What's the rebuild feel like for that?
I prefer one each.
One each.
But also, I was lucky not to have ACL because it takes longer.
Yeah.
I had meniscus tear, which was kind of crazy because the meniscectomy was all over my knee. Because sometimes you can have a meniscus tear and it's not that bad. But two on the same knees, that's a career killer. Even just one, you don't feel like same, but on two, nah.
He's 26,
and
so
in football, yes, you haven't even. I mean, I know now the average might be lower, probably where people start hitting the prime might be 22, 23, but in football, yes, you still got like 10 good years.
Yeah, but just having those knee injuries that no matter what field of athleticism that you're in, you're gonna lose a tiny bit of a step.
Yes.
Now he is pretty quick though, but it's unfortunate to also see him leave when he was in such bad form.
Yeah.
Because he was not playing well this season at all, at least to his standard, and that's the issue with having such high standards for yourself as a player, is that when you step down and start playing like a normal, solid center back, now all of a sudden it's disappointing because you're at Militao.
That's the same thing with City. Too good now, even when you're playing kind of, they're like
You're playing like mortals again, as opposed to gods.
We need the marvels back.
But I mean, like look at this really fast, man. Thibaut Courtois, Alaba's out still. Even though nobody really knows, he's been out for 11 months.
I thought he was sold.
He's been out for 11 months. Danny Carvajal, Eder Militao. Lucas Vasquez is out as well.
For Carvajal, they're thinking about bringing this one kid. I think he plays in Madrid B to step up in his position just because Vasquez is not working.
Because they're going to have to get creative with that. Because and talking about Ramos as well, he would be perfect because what you don't want to do is sign players that are then contractually bound to you once these guys return, because you're not looking for out and out replacements. You're looking for coverage, so you need either guys from the academy to come up, where it's no harm no foul. You're here as long as you're here. Somebody on loan or pick up a free agent in January, because you don't want any sort of contract dispute. Like I don't want to pay for some of this other club's wages, just to then kick him back and have to pay more off on his contract. But bringing in Sergio Ramos as a free agent, just saying, hey man, from now till May, or January to January, which is an uncommon sort of signing. But since you're a free agent, they're going to get from their youth academy or people that are not tied to other clubs currently on loan or for buying out a contract. So it's an interesting place for them to be in, because they don't normally do that. They either buy superstar players. They loan out more. They don't really get people on loans that much, except for Joselu. But yeah, it's a very strange spot for them to be in.
Yeah, that's true. And when you look at Madrid, a little bit about them, certain things have to be done. I think it's time for Ancelotti to kind of let Arda Güler step up in that midfield. Because you are still missing someone like Kroos. It might never be the same as Kroos, but you need, because Camavinga, for me, I think, especially when I see Madrid, man, that I love seeing him play. But the problem is that they're asking too much of him. They're asking him to be defensive midfielder and an attacking midfielder. And so Bellingham can be kind of like a hybrid where he attacks and he also as a striker.
You're asking Camavinga to do too many things to where he's not able to do any one thing well. You need someone to help, and I think that the best partnership that you can get him, especially Tchouaméni is injured again, not again, but injured too. So I would say again. Because he doesn't have long injury issues, but he picks up knocks relatively often.
So now you need to find a partner, and I think Güler is a good one because he has an attacking mindset, and with Camavinga kind of protecting or be just a little bit on the last or the first third, you can have either Güler just circulating and giving the balls around, but I think it's time for him to let him play that For Mbappe and the rest, I wouldn't worry too much because I think they're in stage of figuring it out. But in the difference that Mbappe's got to learn to play the position that he's been brought to Madrid to play. You watch the game.
We've had this conversation 1,000 times. I told you before we even got there, this was going to be an issue.
Bellingham is doing the runs that Mbappe is supposed to do. I know some people had different opinions, and I heard the opinion that he was dragging the defense right, making sure that left the space for Mbappe to make that, for Bellingham to make that run. I understand it's good and said,
and you should be it should be reversed. Bellingham should still be the one that's pulling those guys away from you. Mbappe should be the one that's coming over the top. Definitely. Like it's not that Mbappe did the wrong thing by dragging the defenders apart.
We need
those need to be flipped.
Yes, because we expect you to play like we know you can, and there's a reason you get paid the big bucks. You're gonna have to play the big bucks money. You're gonna have to give us those play. But I also think that they're in a stage of figuring out. I'm not worried of egos because if this was 2006 and we had those Galacticos players at the time, I would have been worried. Vinicius Junior is playing very well. There's nothing to say about him. The thing, I don't know, probably we need to see more of that, but you can't really want to see it, every single day. It's not possible, but he's consistent.
I'm thinking, a hat trick every 3 games.
Every 3 games. Okay, I don't know about that. Even unless you want to be Messi of 2000, I think 11 or 12 when he had 91 goals. But
that's not happening.
I think Ancelotti has to start thinking about how he can the midfield, and even I know Mbappe's not working. You can put Endrick there for a while and just kind of rotate around and see.
I saw the first thing I thought when I saw that Rodrigo was out was, well, at least you don't have to worry about balancing a 3-man front anymore.
Rodrigo's injured. Is he injured? Rodrigo.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah. Man. He's part of it as well. No, they had 3 guys go down in one game: Vasquez, Militao, and Rodrigo. Now, no, I personally don't know the extent of the Rodrigo one.
Yeah,
I know that it's not going to be as big as the other Militao thing. No. But I was led to sort of believe that it could be 6 to 8 weeks or so. Yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah,
but you don't have to worry about stacking everybody in. It's just shit.
Yeah,
not the way that you want to do it, but you got it.
Yeah. So. Well, this is the end of this podcast, and I said, and I will say it again. Go watch. Let me. This is what's gonna happen.
Oh my God!
Start shooting. Go watch the games. Go watch the podcast, man. Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. And we need you to turn on the bell notification. Do whatever you can to get this.
Do everything that you can. Go out of your way, please.
Definitely. Well,
inconvenience yourself for us.
See you next week. Bye.
Hit those applause.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.